We're a one-income household with a baby, so every grocery dollar has to stretch. In this video, I'm sharing exactly what we bought this week, how much each item cost, and how we turned a simple grocery list into a week of healthy, affordable meals. I'll also break down the cost of each recipe and share some of my go-to tips for eating well without overspending. Hey guys, for today's video, I'm going to show you kind of what a weekly or bi-weekly grocery haul looks like for our family, and then also share all the dinner recipes we are making this week, and then within the video kind of share what we buy in bulk and roughly how much each meal cost, and how you can probably cut down your bill a lot more than you think you can. Because when I tell people how much we typically spend on groceries, they are shocked, especially in today's economy with inflation. It can be very depressing going to the grocery store looking at all the prices of things. Still, our budget is a lot less than others because of these kind of few tips and tricks we do. So I'll also include that in today's video. But I thought I would just start out by showing you what we got yesterday at the grocery store and putting the prices on the screen. We probably go once every week or every other week. So I got this bag of spinach. The plan with this is I'm gonna make like a spinach potato curry, because we have some potatoes that we've had for a couple months now that need to be used up. And we have some coconut milk that we got in bulk at Costco. And then I got some tofu. This is another thing. It literally just went up. I usually get the extra firm tofu just because that's what I like in dishes. But I thought I would try the firm tofu this time around because the tofu went up. The less firm you get for tofu is typically cheaper. I mean, they're not that expensive, especially if you compare it to the price of meat, but it has went up. Although I wonder too, usually when it's less firm, it has more water content, so it might equal out that the price is worth it if you're getting more actual tofu and less water. But I thought I would just try this instead of the extra firm for my recipes, because I think it was like close to $1 cheaper. Kai has been getting eggs for his breakfast. Eggs are also like crazy expensive. I think they're more expensive in the States than Canada because of all the, what was it, like bird flu the chickens were getting. Me and Makai doesn't really like eggs. I've tried to give them to him, and I honestly don't really like eggs. So this lasts like 2 weeks for Kai. We'll have one basically every morning for breakfast for work. So yeah, that roughly lasts 2 weeks. Usually, you know, every couple weeks we have to buy something that we don't buy typically, and that this week was black beans because we are all out. If you've seen any of my videos, we use them all the time. Usually I buy a lot bigger of a bag than this, like one that's like this big. But this was all they had at the store. This shows you how much cheaper it is to buy the bag of beans than it is the cans. This is a small bag, so if you bought a bigger bag per pound, it would be even cheaper. But this was $2.97, I believe, and just one can can be like $2. And this, the amount of beans you get in this is so much more than one can, because when you soak them, they expand. I think I'm going to make some black bean burritos with this, and also more black bean crackers and black bean hummus. I made that in my last week's video, which was snacks from scratch. And then I bought a sweet potato, a huge sweet potato. This was just over $2, and I'm going to make some sweet potato tacos with this, with the black beans too, because Kai from his work not too long ago got some tortillas for free. We had them in the freezer, so I took them out to defrost so that way I wouldn't have to make any tortillas this week, and just keep it simple for a quick dinner. In the summer, we tend to go towards more quick, light dinners just because, again, we're outside a lot. 2 cans of tomato paste. I plan to make some pizza this week. Pizza is a go-to for us because it's relatively cheap. For the sauce, all I do is this and pizza spice and some water. Easy to make, it's quick, it's cheap, it's filling. You can load it up with toppings, put a salad next to it. The last thing I got is a bunch of bananas. Usually when you go to the grocery store, you can find a section that has bananas for sale that are, like, this was half off. So you saved $2.30, so it would have been $4.60, and then it was half of that. This is something that we usually get a lot of, and we get it almost every time we go. Bananas are probably, where we live at least, the cheapest fruit, and then when you get them on sale, like, there's no other fruit that you can get this much for $2.30. And what we do is, the reason they're on sale is because they're more ripe and they need to be bought before they go bad. But we use them for smoothies, so actually the riper the better because they're more sweet. So I'll just take all these out of the peeling, snap them in half, put them in a reusable bag and put them in the freezer. And then it's the bulk of our smoothies. That way when we do eat smoothies, which in the summer, again, we've been eating a lot more of those, it is a lot cheaper. I feel like it's a misconception that you can't eat healthy, you can't eat things like smoothies and salads when you're on a budget, but I hope this video kind of just proves that you don't need a lot of money to eat healthy, especially when you buy staples that are cost effective. Like we eat a lot of oats, bananas for our main source of fruit, and then we pick whatever is in season and then freeze it. Right now we have some frozen strawberries that we picked the other week. That makes it a lot more cost effective. Same with blueberries. We have some from last year, and then we are going to pick some more in August. We have a blueberry plant too. Things like tofu. I said it went up in price, but really it's not that expensive. Potatoes typically aren't too expensive where we live. And then for things we already have, like I said, we use a lot of oats, a lot of chickpeas, rice, flour. We make a lot of our own pizza dough and bread, and lentils is another thing you see in my channel a lot. We use that. So we just kind of stick to things that we have in our pantry that we buy in bulk and that are cheap. We have a garden too, so we're going to be using that for some of the recipes. I want to make pesto, and we have a bunch of basil that needs to be harvested. We have some lettuce. I'm looking out the window because I can see what we have that needs to be harvested. So we'll make some salads with that, because we have some cucumbers we bought on sale for $2, the tiny ones, which is really rare. They're usually expensive, 2 weeks ago, and they're still in the fridge, but they're still good. So I'm going to cut that up and make some sort of salad with one of these meals. I'll just stop rambling, and I guess we'll get to the meals today. I'm going to make the pesto. And I might also prep the spinach curry for tomorrow, because I plan not to get home until the evening, because I'm going to go to my mom's house tomorrow because my other sister is home visiting. So the first recipe I am making in today's video is pesto, because as you could see, I had abundance of basil that needed to be harvested from the garden because it already started to flower. This is my first tip, is to use what you have and grow your own food. Even if you live in an apartment, you can have herbs on your balcony or by your windowsill. Things like basil, cilantro, parsley, dill. Fun. They aren't that hard to grow, but it really makes a difference. That is a lot of basil, and we still have like 5 more basil plants around the property. That was like 8 cups of basil. So this is gonna make a big batch, enough for multiple meals throughout the week. I wish you could smell it like through the camera. I love basil. It smells so good. Another tip I recommend doing is making things in larger quantities than what you need, and then either putting them in the fridge for later in the week and even freezing some. So when you have those days where you're really not feeling like cooking, because we all have those days no matter how much you love cooking, you don't have to reach for convenience or order out. You have something that you can just take out of the freezer, defrost, and put together, in less than half an hour. And another small tip is to save all the scraps from your veggies like onions, garlic, things like that, carrots, and save them in a freezer bag. And when you have enough, you can make your own veggie stock, so you never have to buy veggie stock again. And if you eat meat, you can save the bones from your chickens and make your own homemade bone broth. The reason what inspired me to make pesto for this week was that my mom gifted us some Parmesan from the store. Parmesan is typically pretty expensive and we don't really use it that much, but she got this at Superstore for $2 because it was about to expire the next day. So that's like another tip, is just to look out for deals. We always go with our base list of what we plan to make. We meal plan for the most part. We know kind of what we're going to spend. But I mentioned this in past videos. If we go to the store, we get what we want. But say something like tahini, which we use a lot of, what we do is when we see it on sale, we stock up on it. So that way we always have a little bit of leeway in our weekly or bi-weekly budget. We kind of go off of like what we're going to spend for the full month, rather than every week. That way we can spend some more weeks and some less weeks, and in the grand scheme of a year it saves us a decent amount of money. If you don't have Parmesan, you can use nutritional yeast. That's a little bit cheaper, or just the Parmesan in the bottle. Basil, that was free for us because it was in the garden. I really recommend you growing herbs, because to buy a pack of seed for basil is like $1 and it's pretty easy to grow. And basil is more expensive at the stores typically than other herbs. You get like a small package, maybe like 1/4 of a cup for a couple dollars. However, this recipe can be switched out with any green. Use spinach, you could use parsley, you could use cilantro is one I love. So you can opt out of this for whatever green you are growing or have on sale. Salt and pepper, pretty affordable. We got these in bulk at Costco and we basically use them mainly for pesto and salads and stuff like that. So it lasts us a long time. So it's a lot more cost effective that way. Lemons, when you buy them singularly, they can be really expensive. At our Walmart, they're like $1 just for one. However, we went to Costco the other day and you can get a big bag of like 10 lemons for a couple dollars. But usually we just use the extract. And also another tip, which I actually learned from one of you guys, is we sometimes zest the lemon and then freeze the zest and use that with water instead. And also, instead of using just oil, I'm going to be adding a little bit of water to it to save on the oil so we don't have to use as much. And then when I actually cook the noodles, because I'm going to be batch prepping the sauce and making it separately, but when I cook the noodles, I'm going to be saving some of the pasta starchy water and adding that to the sauce too, so it just goes further. So those are some tips when you're making pesto on how to make it cheaper. Look out for deals, buy things in bulk, substitute with other things like water, different greens, the extract instead. I don't know if you guys like this sitting talking instead of voiceovers, but again, let me know because I'm trying to figure out the style of my content. A tip, whenever I make a recipe that uses garlic and some sort of citrus like hummus or pesto, I always infuse the garlic with the citrus while I'm cutting up or prepping the other things. It just helps extract the flavor of the garlic more, so you don't have to use as much. And if you don't have fresh garlic, which garlic is pretty affordable in most places, but if you don't, you can also always substitute with garlic powder, because that is also very cost effective. Add that. Pepper and salt. I kind of just eyeball this. And then when I blend it, I'll taste it and see if I like more salt in it or more pepper. I would say probably 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper and maybe half a teaspoon of salt, just because I am making such a large quantity. And then for the nuts, I'm gonna do 1 cup. You could do a little more, a little bit less. This just helps with the creaminess of it. And also, I've made this with all sorts of nuts before, my pesto. See, again, eyeball it. A little more is okay. I made this with all sorts of nuts in the past. Original pesto calls for pine nuts, but nobody can afford those nuts these days because they're so expensive. I find walnuts the cheapest ones besides peanuts. I have used peanuts in this recipe before and it turned out fine, but I find peanuts have a stronger taste to them than walnuts. Just gotta pick and choose and tailor the recipe to what suits you. I'm gonna probably do 1/2 to 3/4 cups of olive oil, whatever I have here. And then I'm gonna also add some water. And like I said, I'll add some starch water too when I'm cooking it. So 1/4 water. And because we do have the cheese, and like I said, it is expired and needs to be used, I'll probably do 3/4 of a cup, which will be most of this. I have made pesto before without cheese or nutritional yeast. Today or tomorrow is filled to the top, so let's go blend this goodness and I'll be right back. Look at that. This is the before. And the after, look how creamy and good this looks. It smells even better. So as you can see, when this is all blended up, it makes roughly, what is that, like 3 cups worth, I think. But see this, it's very, very, very thick. So we'll probably actually basically almost double this by the time we add the pasta sauce, like the starch water. I plan to make a bigger batch of pesto and the noodles too. So we have it tonight for dinner, tomorrow for lunch, and probably the next day for lunch. It saves us from cooking a lot. I rarely make lunch, and a lot of times leftovers go even more than one lunch. They'll do 2 lunches. Usually 1 day a week that we don't even make dinner and we just eat whatever leftovers need to be eaten in the fridge. On the weekends I usually don't cook. It's either leftovers or Kai cooks. Kind of shows you that just because you're cooking things from scratch and being more budget friendly by doing things like soaking your own legumes and making bread or making pasta sauce from scratch. First of all, when you get into a routine, it really doesn't feel like much. And then second of all, just make bigger batches of everything, double it or triple it, so you have leftovers for lunches and sometimes even like for a dinner if you don't want to cook. And for certain things, like even this pesto, you could put 1 serving worth in a small mason jar and freeze it. Pesto freezes fine. I wouldn't freeze the noodles cooked, but just the sauce. And then when it's a day that you know, like, oh, it's going to be hot, I'm going to be outside all day, just take it out, let it defrost, and then you have your meal ready, and all you have to do is boil some noodles. We do that a lot around here too. Not only do we have leftovers for the next day, a lot of the times for certain things like chilies or pasta sauces, we will freeze it, or pizza dough. I always double my pizza dough recipe so that I can freeze one thing. That way on days that I don't feel like cooking, that I'm either busy or tired, I don't have to. It's kind of like a kitchen hack. And I know we only have 1 child, so this probably differs when you have multiple children or a bigger family, but you don't have to just double it. You can triple or quadruple your recipe because it will save you time in the long run. Gonna put that in the fridge, and now we're gonna move on to the spinach curry. Really just gonna be cooking today and probably won't have to cook for a couple days after this. I know some of you comment in some of my videos saying you waste so much in the blender, like get a plastic spatula to scrape it out. Oh, trust me, when the cameras are off, none of that gets wasted. For me, the best part of cooking and baking is licking the spoon. So I will get a spoon and scrape this all off and eat all the excess for my little snack. See, this is why I don't talk in my videos and I do my voiceovers, because I find I just ramble. And when I do the voiceovers, I have like a limited amount of time to talk. So I'm less likely to ramble because I have to say what I gotta say about the instructions. Like, look at all that pesto. Look how good that looks. So excited for this tonight. So this next meal that I am making is potato spinach curry, and what inspired this recipe is that I had some potatoes in our cupboard that had to be used up. Our neighbors are so generous and have given us potatoes multiple times throughout the year, but they were harvested locally last fall. Some of them were starting to sprout, and when they sprout, you're not really supposed to eat them, so I wanted to use these ones all up before that happens. And that's my next tip, is plan your meals around what you already have. Check your pantry, fridge, and freezer before shopping. And you can build your meal plan around ingredients you already have that you kind of have to use to reduce waste and also spending. And another tip is to choose whole ingredients over processed ones. Whole foods like potatoes, eggs, carrots, and dried beans are super affordable and nourishing and much cheaper and healthier than boxed or frozen meals. And yet another tip is take advantage of things like garlic, ginger, onions, and spices, because all these things are really affordable and can really change a bland, boring meal to something that tastes delicious. For example, for this recipe, I used ginger, which for 100 grams at Walmart only cost 92 cents. And then I already mentioned you can get a 3-pack of garlic from Walmart for 87 cents, which really per clove is like a penny. Basically, it's nothing. And then also you can get a 3-pound bag of yellow onions at Walmart for $3.97. And for the spices I used for this recipe, I used coriander, cumin, turmeric, paprika, and then of course pepper and salt. At Walmart you can get a 400-gram bag of coriander powder for $2.38, a 98-gram bag of turmeric for $2.27, a 130-gram bag of paprika for $2.27, and a 97-gram bag of cumin for $2.27. And I believe if you buy 3 bags of the Great Value spices, you get a discount off of them. So I think you can get 3 bags for $6. And the bag of spinach was 227 grams for $3.97. And another tip to save on money when you're cooking things or frying onions, you don't always have to use olive oil. You can use just a splash of water, or if you make your veggie stock from scratch like I do and it's free basically, I freeze it into ice cubes, and you can see here I'm adding one of those instead of some oil, so you can use that too, and that just gives any recipe you make more flavor. And then right here, you don't have to do this, but I added coconut oil to this recipe, roughly a tablespoon. And you can get a 1.6 liter tub of coconut oil at Walmart for $17.97. And then for this recipe, the original spinach curry doesn't call for coconut milk, but I like to add it to make it more creamy. So if you want, you can add a can of that. We got a big thing of coconut milk at Costco for $14.99, and I think that included 6 cans, so that's less than $2.50 each, and they're organic. But a lot of the time, since we don't have a Costco near us, what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on the coconut milk when it goes on sale at Walmart, because it goes on sale relatively often, and you can usually buy a can for just a little bit over $1, and we'll stock up on it then, because we use a lot of coconut milk because we make a lot of curries. And another tip is to pair your meals with a cheap starch. Today I'm making coconut rice just because it's been a new hit in our house. Makai loves it, but you can just do plain rice and skip out on the coconut milk to make it cheaper. Rice is really cost effective. You can get a 2-kilogram bag at Walmart for literally $4.47. So it goes a long way, but we also like to switch it up and make homemade bread and pair it with that, or use brown rice or quinoa. But all those things, when bought in bulk, or not even, you don't even have to buy in bulk, all those things are pretty cost effective, filling, especially if you get the brown rice or the quinoa, because it has more fiber and will just help fill you up rather than just eating the curry. And then for my next tip, when it comes to eating fruits and vegetables, eat seasonally. It's just a lot cheaper that way and more fresh. You get better quality food. So we tend to eat more salads in the summer because lettuce is growing. We grow our own lettuce. Cucumbers are growing. Tomatoes are growing around here. At Walmart, you can get Roma tomatoes for 65 cents per 100 grams. And these baby cucumbers, like I said, they're typically more expensive, but we got them on sale for $2.97. But this time of year, the regular price of them is only $3.97. So for a big bag of baby cucumbers, I really don't think that is bad. And then we got this big thing of feta. It has 800 grams in it at Walmart, literally around Christmas time, and we still have it just because we use it sparingly. And it was only $9.98, which for feta I really don't think is that bad. And like I said, it's lasted us like 7 months at this point. And then for the pasta, for the pesto, again, pasta is something that is very, very affordable. You can get a 900 gram bag of penne at Walmart for literally $1.97. I ended up cooking 500 grams of pasta, which is enough for at least 6 people. So we had enough of pasta basically for every day for lunch, because we also paired it with the salad, and Kai ended up cooking some bread to go on the side with it, so we just had like a full 3-meal dish. And you can see the amount of pesto I used was honestly hardly nothing. Like, we still had so much left, so we ended up freezing some, but this pesto made so many dishes worth. So if you can see here, I've made a huge batch of pesto. Literally fills up the whole pot, and it's extra creamy, lots of sauce. Added a lot of liquid there so it can go further, and I still have like a lot of the jar left of pesto, so this will last us like a long time. I'm probably gonna end up freezing half of this, and then even this, like, Makai only eats a little bit because he's only 1.5 years, so this is a lot of pasta for basically 2 adults. This will just last us throughout the week. So again, I'm not making lunch that often, and even some dinners, usually once a week, we eat leftovers. So this is great. I find pasta stays pretty much good for a week in the fridge. So this will be lunch for the next couple of days, as long as dinner. This makes a lot of meals. So really, when you break it down serving to serving, it's not that bad. Kai and Makai should be home any minute. I made the 2 meals like I said I was going to. I'm just going to leave it all out and then let Kai decide tonight if he wants the curry or the pasta, because they both keep well in the fridge. And then put the other one away and have the other one for tomorrow night's dinner. This salad, I made a big salad, and because this is just a side, it will probably have some for the next couple days alongside the dinner. In summer, I always like to have some sort of salad. You saw that we didn't buy the veggies because they were left over from last week because we were out a lot, and the salad was actually gifted to us by our neighbor. Okay guys, I'm going to end the video here because it already is quite long. I only shared 2 of the dinner recipes and the price breakdown in this video, but for next week's video I'm going to make the part 2 of this and show you all the other meals we made with the groceries we bought this week. So stay tuned for that. The recipes include a tofu Buddha bowl, sweet potato and black bean tacos, black bean burgers, and pizza, along with some snacks that we made for the week. So if you're not already, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on next week's video. And with that, I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye for now, guys.